I just wanted to give you guys, and particularly gals, a trigger warning. I said in my first video that masculinity holds a difficult place in our culture, and I'm going to be talking about men's issues on this channel. Getting out of a relationship recently, I recognized that there was some aspects of emotional abuse that I experienced. And for me, I think for a lot of guys, the emotional abuse, it goes deeper than physical abuse can, unless that ends your life. And it's harder to see. It's harder to prove. It's harder to talk about, let alone the fact that a lot of people in general, but particularly women, get really triggered when a man says a woman abused them. Physical abuse from a woman to a man is not okay at any age. I don't want to imply that. It's a serious issue if it happens. But the emotional abuse, a lot of men will take it for a long time and think that it's okay. And maybe only in hindsight recognize how damaging it was. And for all the ladies out there that have just had the shit beat out of you, I'm so sorry. That's never okay. Never okay for a man to do that kind of thing, to express himself that way. I know that it can be triggering to hear this kind of dialogue. So I hope that you can stay grounded and follow along with me. Understand where I'm coming from. Also, find a way to transform whatever experience of abuse you had, male or female, into growth, to learn whatever the lessons were there, and to eventually release that pain, to grow stronger from the trauma and integrate it. So thanks for showing up. Let's get into the video. Well, back again. Almost a month since I let this relationship go with this woman that I was seeing, that I've told you guys about in previous few videos. Most of the reason that I broke up with her was my intuition had been tugging at me, tugging at my mind and my heart, knocking on my soul. So I started to look into things a little bit, look into relationships that other people had had. Eventually I made my way to some tarot readings, which were very helpful. But before that, I was noticing some tendencies with her. I was questioning some things that she was saying because they didn't either seem to be true or make the right kind of sense. But I just noticed some tendencies. And so I was looking into people with narcissistic tendencies. And quickly, after sifting through a few videos, I found that there was sort of a subgenre of videos about narcissists. Again, I really don't like the labels. Rather than calling people this, a narcissist, I don't think a label defines anybody really. Maybe it helps people categorize themselves or, unfortunately, minimize and box in others. But there's definitely people that have narcissistic tendencies. And, the reality is, I don't know exactly how men always express their narcissistic tendencies and enact them on others. But, there's some commonalities like flying monkeys and trying to separate people out from those that you know and breaking down your confidence. But I'm sure it's enacted in different ways from men to women, because obviously men and women are different, and there's a very small subset of humanity that biologically has sort of bits of both. And we all, in our spirit, in our mind, have elements of masculine and feminine. I'm a man. I've only ever dated and had intimate interactions with women, so, that's what applied to me. And in doing some of this research, I noticed that there's a lot of men. There's a lot of men out there that are very susceptible to women who have narcissistic tendencies and get mentally, emotionally, spiritually abusive. And it's not so easy to identify. It's not so easy to see. It's not like the way a man expresses crossing boundaries and hurting people, and enacts abuse on others, quite often, at least historically, that's physically. They'll beat, they'll smack around, you know? They'll do something physical to hurt someone, to control them. I've never been like that. I don't, and again, like I've said, violence is a hard line. I will defend myself if I have to, but whoever I encounter, it's very unlikely that they're going to be able to say the right thing and do the right thing unless it's very overt and there's real danger. It's very unlikely that anybody's going to get me to get physical or throw a strike or something like that. But I would if I had to. And so I don't express myself that way. And I have certain standards, I have expectations. I think in a relationship, you should have expectations. You should be able to hold people to account, have agreements, and if they don't do something, have a way to address that. Giving a whole lot of talk about how hard they're trying is, at a certain point, just not good enough. Another video about relationships, and there's a lot of videos out there. Like I said, I was watching all these videos of men talking about their experiences with narcissistic women. So, you know, here we go. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, you know, we can roll our eyes about it, but I'm going to be talking about it. This is what's happened for me recently. It feels like a year ago, but it's just been about a month. I just started to pick up on things. I just started to notice the effect on me. I started to notice the difference between where her life was going, the accomplishments that she was able to achieve with my help. She had quite a number of accomplishments in the last 5 or 6 years, you know, professionally. And, you know, that was mostly her, but I was right there over and over, speaking to her about her work, giving her ideas, helping her refine her ideas, giving her a lot of positive reinforcement and some like constructive criticism as well when I could. But really, I was trying to uplift her and make her powerful, and she became powerful. She was kind of an expert in her field of defensive design, you know? And I was a small part of that, but a significant part, right? And I realized that, I mean, I've been going through a lot, the death of both parents, chronic pain. It's all very depressing and anxiety causing and all that kind of thing. But really, unfortunately, she was a lot more of a drain and very little support when it mattered for the things that were important to me that I wanted to do with my life. I think for a lot of guys, you know, I'm fiercely loyal. You know, in a certain way, there's some naivete. In a certain way, there's some naivete in my loyalty with this woman, with other members of my family, maybe even with some friends. And that's partly what I'm learning about and coming to terms with. And that's why I've been letting some people go. And it's been the right thing to do. I have so much more that I can access to do the things that I need to do in my life, to develop myself and my ideas and, you know, reach towards my goals and strive to become more, better, the person that I want to be, right? Or fill myself out in the ways that I realize need some work, let's say. But she wasn't helping. And in a lot of ways, she was making it really difficult to do those things. So I started looking at these videos and about men who had suffered under relationships with women who were narcissistic and abused them, emotionally abused them, mentally abuse them. You know, the thing is, those scars, bruises, wounds, they're deep. You might not understand, you might not see it or notice it, or even believe if someone talks about it. You might not spot it when a couple's together. But man, these guys, you could see on their face. You could hear in their voice. You could feel it when they spoke as their soul was pouring out and addressing the trauma that they had experienced. You could see the damage. I mean, you know, I've got some facial issues. I think it looks pretty fine and balanced right now, but there are many times where it looks like I've had a stroke, you know, a little bit. I went to see a neurologist at one point. I mean, my doctor wasn't very honest about it. I didn't know that this was a neurologist that specialized in strokes and those kinds of things. But once I finished seeing them, I found out from the receptionist that that was the specialty. Now, I didn't get diagnosed with anything. I guess I didn't have a stroke. And so these men in these videos, it was, I mean, they were very helpful. And in many ways, you could see that they had turned their life around, that they were addressing their trauma, that they were trying to grow beyond it. And they were trying to share their experience with other men, right? So that other men could identify, hopefully, before it got maybe to the point that it was with them that caused the damage that they were speaking from. You know, they were hoping to empower men to change their situation, get out of their relationship, find someone who loved, appreciated, and respected them, who wanted to lift them up and help them do not what the woman thought that they should do, but what the men knew that they needed to do, to follow their dreams, to strive towards, I don't know, maybe even a better world. There's a lot of men that want to help broadly. I'm one of those people. And these videos, that's partly what I'm doing. I could see these men, I could see the damage, and, you know, no disrespect to them at all. I'm not putting them down. It was inspiring. Maybe I noticed some of their qualities in myself, and it inspired me to examine my relationship and think about the things that I had said and that this woman had said and that we had each done, and the course of months and years passing, and how her life went and what I contributed, how my life went and what she contributed. I started to really come to terms with the fact that my father was at the end of his life, and what I would do, and I would hope what a lot of people would do, is instead of leaving, instead of pursuing your own personal interest when you're in a long-term relationship with someone that you say you love, someone who's definitely supported and empowered you very much, instead of leaving and buggering off to do your own thing, especially if you already have a certain degree of accomplishment in your life in different areas. When a person is deeply in need and you love them, you allocate a little more, right, to them. She went in the opposite direction. What I really needed was for this woman to be with me as my father saw the rest of his time out, and then to be there, like take a little bit more time off her work and be there with me, to help me recuperate, to help me get the house in order. I mean, my house is a mess. I'm a pretty disorganized person in general, but it's filled with my dad's old books, you know, boxes from both my dad and my mom, and, you know, and just with everything that's happened, it's been hard to clear it up and go through all the mementos. I could have used this woman's help. I could have used her dedication. It's what I would have done. It's what I hope many of you would have done and would do if you say you love someone. Sacrifice. That's an essential ingredient to love. Real love, not love that you say, I love you, right? You can say that and you can feel it when you say it, but it's not deeply true unless when life tests you and there's sacrifice to be made, that's when you show it. And this woman showed that she wanted to go the other way. 2023, I started to stand up for myself. I started to really hold her to account, to ask her why she wasn't really on board with the relationship, to not just let things slide. And there was a lot of fighting, you know, as there would be. If someone isn't treating you right, you keep standing up for yourself, and they just refuse to change. They refuse to do the right thing, right? And live up to their responsibilities. You know, and there's this undercurrent to a lot of feminine culture these days that's destructively selfish. Obviously to the men who will get taken advantage of, like I did, like many of these men who went through this narcissistic abuse did, but even to the women, because they're cheating themselves out of being with a good man who will treat them well, out of maybe starting a future, having kids at a younger age, you know, before maybe their body is getting close to not even being able to have kids in that kind of family, you know. Not every woman has to have kids. I don't mean to say that, but listen, if you're a woman and you're born with a womb, that is an amazing gift. It's a miracle. And it's average. Most people can have kids. If you can't, I'm very sorry about that. But most people can. If you're a woman, you're born with a womb. It's easy for a lot of people. Have some sex, unprotected, and a baby might show up later on, right? Doesn't seem like much. We have all sorts of ways to avoid it, but it is the miracle, the doorway to immortality that we all have. I got a key. Some of you have the door with the lock, right? And we can all open the doorway to immortality. So there's this undercurrent to a lot of modern feminine culture. And it's the kind of thinking that promoted this woman to, instead of show up for me when I needed her most and recognize it was time to prove the commitment, it was time to make some sacrifices, this is the culture that convinced her to go the opposite way. And she used a phrase as I was questioning her about why she made this decision, without my full consent as well. I mean, drags me along to a long distance relationship. Like I said, I never want to be in unless maybe we have kids or something like that. And, it has to happen. And she made a choice. She made a choice. And I didn't fully agree to it, but she accepted this opportunity. Question her about it. But if a woman uses this phrase and doesn't recognize that it's dangerous, you better get out of there quick because she's going to take advantage of you. All right? And so this woman, when I was questioning her about why she made this decision, she went like this. She said, I wanted to live my best life. She looked down very, very clearly with shame. She knew that it was not an act of love. It's part of this modern subculture that a lot of women are trapped in. It's going to cause you to make silly mistakes, to be selfish when you should be strong, when you should show some degree of fortitude and sacrifice. So if a woman says to you, I want to live my best life, what she means is, I want to sacrifice you so that I can do what I want to do. That's what it means. Be very careful of women that use this phrase. And it sounded like someone else told her this. And as soon as she said it, her head went down and her voice went low, and she knew that it was not the right thing to do, and that she caused damage to someone that she said that she loved, to me, that she took something from me so that she could have something, and at one of the worst times. So be careful when a woman says to you, I want to live my best life. Be careful if you hear her speaking that way or see her speaking that way. This is someone who is not matured, someone who does not understand commitment, does not understand self-sacrifice. If you're thinking that way and you're acting that way, you don't deserve a good man's love. You don't. And I hope, gentlemen, that you get the fuck out if you hear these kinds of ideas. Let's see. Maybe this video for now has gone long enough. I will be back to speak more about relationships. Because this is what is real. This is what is fresh. I mean, like I said, it feels like it's been a year. I've changed so much for the better. Over and over, day by day, week by week. It's been what, like 4 weeks? I feel like it's been a year or longer. I've been trying to change some of these habits, lifestyles, mindsets for years, and especially this year, for months and months and months, even into last year. And in just a month, I've changed my diet, exercise, lesser than the diet and the exercise, but the way that I speak to myself and motivate myself. I don't drink. I mean, I would if I had a reason, but I don't really have much social time because I'm just very focused on getting myself together to where I need to be to help the world. And it starts with, I guess, helping and loving myself, and this is a lesson. So, diet, exercise, mindset. I don't drink. I think I said in the last video, maybe I'll stop smoking weed. I stopped cannabis. I'm living pretty clean. I've altered some of my content consumption. I think it's maybe still a little high, but that's a work in progress and will probably change as well. Even way back since I was a kid, I've always had issues with sleep. So that's something that's going to be a big project that I'm going to have to work on and change. But I'm pretty optimistic about it. Given how much I've changed already. I noticed some little lies, and like I said, little lies stack up. Little lies stack up and become bigger lies. And eventually bigger lies stack up and become colossal lies. And so I don't know how much he lied. But I will get into some of these tendencies that I noticed. I will get into some of the things that my intuition has told me, and maybe things for some of you guys who are in relationships with women to look out for. I will get into that probably next video. This is getting on. I don't want every video to be like 40 minutes long. So I'm going to wrap it up soon. But it's not easy. My heart is sore. It's healing, but my heart is sore. So this person for 10 years, and it seems like there's a good chance she wasn't with me the way that she said she was and the way that I thought she was. And it seems like she was somewhat unconsciously, but very possibly, purposefully and consciously, doing a variety of things to my face, and at times when I wasn't there, to hold me back, I'll say. But I won't get into it anymore. This light keeps fluctuating. I don't know how distracting it is. I'll try to fix it for next time. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for listening. And if you're dealing with people that are trying to hold you back, put you down, drain your energy, that don't believe in you, that don't really love you, they talk a good game, but they don't show it when it matters, I wish you luck and strength. I've changed a lot. You can change too.